friends, and welcome back to another Majora's Mask project making video. I am super excited to announce that we are now halfway through the entire series. I just can't believe it. Being halfway through the series, we are up to mask number 16, and I am very excited about this one. We hadn't actually gotten many recommendations for this particular mask, if at all, in the comments, but it kind of made me want to do it a little bit more, and I was really excited because this mask kind of reminds me of another character within the Nintendo universe, so I thought it would be a funny mask to eventually get to. But I am happy to announce that the 16th mask of this series is the Troupe Leader's mask. Now, the Troupe Leader's mask is given to Link by Gorman when you visit him inside the milk bar. To get inside the milk bar, you need to be wearing the Romani's mask, which I haven't actually gotten around to yet, so I probably should have made that one first. But we're here now. When you go inside the milk bar, you meet Toto, who is the manager of the Zora band, and you need to help him do like a sound check. So you use all of the transformation masks, play all of the different instruments as the different characters, and once you do that, you play the Ballad of the Windfish, which moves Gorman, so he starts to get a little bit upset, but he's feeling quite touched, and in response, he gives Link the Troupe Leader's mask. When Link wears the mask actually cries, and it has a calming effect on a lot of people throughout the game. And I was torn between whether I should make the crying version of the mask or just what the mask kind of looks like when you get it, slash whether I just make it look like Gorman himself. But I ended up going with what it looks like rather than the crying side of things. With Majora's Mask and a lot of the other masks, it has been hard to choose between whether I make them look like what they are when Link is wearing them. A few people have suggested I even make masks that are screaming, like the transformation masks when they scream as you transform into the different characters. But I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can, and I'm trying to kind of keep them a little bit cohesive. So as much as I would like to make them look different if Link changes somehow when he wears the mask, I feel like they're not all gonna kind of be along the same lines. So I ended up just making it as simple as possible, and yeah, I hope you like how it turned out. In terms of making it, in terms of the process, I'm actually recording this after I've made the mask, so I'm not gonna show you until the end of the video, of course. But I basically put it all together with foil and foam clay. Are we surprised? No. But I did take it a little bit slower and modeled the foil and foam clay in different stages, and then like attached things afterwards, just so it would be easier to paint and easier to add more details. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Without further ado though, I will stop my yapping. I've been yapping for quite a lot this video, but I will let you get to the mask making.
Starting off, I grabbed my Amazon mask base, and Suki was supervising to make sure I stayed on track. Unlike the other masks, I didn't need to cut out anything from the base. Instead, I needed to cover up the holes of the eyes and smooth down near where the mouth is. I then grabbed some aluminium foil and started to shape the features, of course starting with the nose because it is one of the more prominent features. I then moved on to the mustache, which I actually think I made a little bit too big, but it is also one of the mask's most prominent features, so I felt like even though it was a little bit big, I wanted it to be one of the center of attention parts of the mask, if that makes sense. I then molded the ears. Gorman has pointed elf ears kind of like Link as well, and then it was time to shape the eyebrows. They were quite thin, and I used some scissors to cut out the sharp points on each side before using some masking tape to cover that and just make it a little bit more structurally sound. I then also used some foil and molded the sideburns and hair bits of the mask. I actually ran out of hot glue before I even started this mask, and I had no time to be able to go and buy some, so this mask is completely held together by masking tape. I just ripped off a whole bunch of little pieces of masking tape and just kind of folded it and molded it around the foil using an abundance, so it was definitely stuck, and so it was quite strong and the pieces weren't going anywhere. It also helped smooth down some of the foils, such as the hair, so when I attached the foam clay afterwards, it was nice and neat and exactly where I wanted it. This is what it looked like with all the pieces put together, and now it was time to cover the whole thing in foam clay. I also realized it would probably be easier if I took the eyebrows off and covered them in foam clay completely separately. So I did that and then just covered everything, including the mustache, including the nose, including the hair, in the foam clay to begin with. It was quite a warm night as well, so the foam clay was drying quite fast, and I probably should have used some water as I was going, but I just wanted to get it done, so I completely covered it before rinsing the whole thing under a tap. It was then time to work on the eyebrows. I just did really thin layers of foam clay, made sure to cover the spiky parts of the eyebrows and use some scissors to cut off any excess because I wanted it to be as pointy as possible. I then left both parts of these to dry overnight and used my light pad so it wouldn't just get stuck to a random surface. It did get stuck to my light pad though, so once they were dry, I got them unstuck and started to use some foam clay to fill in any gaps. There were air holes in the base, so I used the littlest amounts of foam clay to try and fill those in. Also added some more details such as some thicker parts going around the hair, adding some bumps inside the ears, and then flattening the eyebrows just a little bit more. Because I still didn't have any hot glue at this point, I also used the foam clay, made it as wet as possible, and stuck it down with the eyebrows. That way, when they would dry, it would be practically merged with the base of the mask. And it worked. So when that was dry, it was time to start painting. Like the Kafai's mask, I mixed up a yellow toned skin color and started to paint the base of the mask. This paint is quite thick, so I only needed to do about 2 coats for the skin. And then I mixed up some brown for the hair, mustache, and eyebrows. I made the brown as dark as possible because I wanted to use quite a few shades just to add a little bit more detail to the hair. I did about 2 coats of the really dark brown, 1 coat of a slightly lighter brown, and then a lightest brown, 1 more shade lighter. I did 1 coat as well. I did contemplate using my soldering iron or my Dremel to try and add a little bit more texture to the mustache and the hair, but we were also flying interstate this week as well, so I did have a little bit of a time crunch. I feel like that's quite a theme throughout these whole mask process videos. I also decided that because the game is more low poly and less detailed, I thought it didn't really matter if I added some texture to the mustache. I was pretty happy with how it was looking anyway. In between painting the different shades of brown for the hair, I also mixed the skin tone with the tiniest bit of brown just to make a slightly darker paint and put that on the inside of the ears. It didn't really turn out exactly how I wanted to, so I decided that later on, when all the paint is dry, I would go back with some eyeshadow using my Morphe palette and add some shading and more detail using that. And this is what the mask looked like fully painted. The next day, when the paint was all completely dry, it was time to start focusing on the ears and the eyes. Like I said, I went through with some darker makeup and just added some depth to the ears. I used like a dark yellow shade and a brown, smudged it in the corners as much as possible, and then used a fluffier brush to wipe off any excess. I also used the makeup to do some shading around the nose, underneath the mustache, and on the chin as well, just because faces need contouring. I then grabbed a thin paintbrush, some black and white paint, and started to work on the eyes. It was hard to make them as symmetrical as possible, and I was very cautious about using black for outline, so I did use my paint markers as well, just to make sure I could make it as neat as possible. I also did the tired eye bags under the eyes and used some makeup to smudge it and make it a little bit more shaded so he looked a little bit more tired. It was then time to add the elastic. I had to grab some pliers to stab some holes into the side of the mask because the initial holes for the base were covered up by the ears, and I just tied the elastic underneath the eyebrows. It's quite obvious when you look at the mask from the side. You cannot tell at all that the elastic is there. Once that was all tied up, I needed to check that it was definitely wearable. So this is what it looked like when I put it on. It is a little bit big for my head, but I did use a bigger mask base. And that is the rushed Troupe leader mask done. Please let me know if you like how the mask turned out. Feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along with the project, and let me know in the comments which mask you would like to see next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye!